Yo, so I seen this video pop up on my YouTube, and I want to watch it. This shit, what's it say? Get Out was more than a horror movie. I need to see what the hell this is talking about right here. So, without further ado, we're going to get into this motherfucking video. Get Out is a great movie, 8 out of 10. That shit is fucked up. That bitch is a fucking slut. More than a horror movie. I need to see what the hell this is talking about right here. So, without further ado, we're going to get into this motherfucking video. Get Out is a great movie, 8 out of 10. Alright, let's start, brother.
2017, Jordan Peele released what will become one of the most influential films of this modern era, Get Out. This is a psychological horror thriller that follows a young black man who accompanies his white girlfriend to spend a weekend with their wealthy family at their secluded country estate. What starts off as an awkward family visit slowly transforms into something far more disturbing. With everything happening with the political and cultural climate right now, this film feels relevant, and in some cases, more than it did back in 2017. So in today's video, I'm going to be breaking this movie down scene by scene, connecting its themes to real life examples while highlighting details and small things that you may have missed while watching it yourself. Get Out is one of those films that I've watched countless times, and every single time I watch it again, I pick up on something new. With that being said, no more talking. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let's hop into it. The film opens up with a young brother walking through a suburban neighborhood late at night. As the film progresses, we later gain knowledge that his name was Andre. As he walks, a white two-door car slowly begins to approach him. Andre notices this and immediately decides to turn in the other direction. He then decides to cross the street. At the halfway mark, he's ambushed, sedated, and thrown into the back of the trunk. This opening scene immediately highlights a harsh reality for many black Americans. Black people...
As a grown man, though, right? As a grown-ass man, this has nothing to do with this video, but as a grown man, there's no other grown man one-on-one that's gonna take me and put me anywhere, bro. I don't believe that, gang. Obviously, it's a movie, so, but at the same time, it's just like, no way, gang. No, I'll bite your dick off before I let you do that. Stop playing with me.
The United States go missing disproportionately at extremely high rates. Although black Americans make up only 13 to 14% of the U.S. population, they consistently account for roughly 30 to 40% of missing person cases. This situation is even more alarming for black women and girls. For example, out of more than 260,000 women and girls reported missing in a single year, nearly 34% were black. Statistics like this raise questions of what is really going on in America. Earlier last month, an attempted kidnapping of a black girl was caught on camera.
A woman bound by handcuffs ran directly into the path of a truck driver in South Carolina. Then, a man in a Cadillac pulled up between the woman and the truck.
He pulled up to me. He said, I'm with law enforcement. He showed me a badge, like, sideways. And he said, I'm with law enforcement, and she jumped out of my car.
According to an incident report from the Aiken County Sheriff's Department, the woman told police that the man drove up behind her while she was taking a walk and claimed to be an officer, took her phone and social security card, handcuffed her, and put her in the back seat of his car. She told police that she'd escaped through the driver's side door while he searched through the trunk. When the truck driver, Anthony Moore, approached the man, he drove away. Bystanders helped the woman get out of the cuffs. One asked if Moore's truck had captured the incident on video.
I said, oh man, I do have a dash cam in that truck. And by evening time, 7, 8 o'clock that evening, that video was shared over 200,000 times.
Authorities later arrested
What is the reasoning in, like, kidnapping someone, though? I don't understand. Like, you just woke up one day and said, yeah, I'm gonna go kidnap a random person. I don't care who it is.
39-year-old Jonathan Willard on one count each of kidnapping and impersonating a law enforcement officer, according to the Associated Press. Aiken County Solicitor's Office told AP that Willard hadn't been assigned a defense attorney and a court date had not been scheduled yet.
Incidents like this are just reminders that I need all of us to stay vigilant. We are then introduced to the film's main character, Chris, a young black photographer living in New York City. He's intelligent, observant, and somewhat reserved, often keeping his thoughts to himself. We also meet his girlfriend, Rose. Early on, she comes off as caring, supportive, and deeply invested in Chris. She arrives at his apartment as they prepare to visit her parents for the weekend. While packing, Chris seems uneasy. Rose notices his discomfort and asks what's wrong. Chris admits that he's concerned about how her parents might react to their relationship. Specifically, he wonders if they know he's black.
That's a fact. I used to only like white girls, and then shit like this happened, and I opened my eyes and I was like, one, I was like, black women are beautiful. That's number one. My brother still thinks opposite. But it's shit like this that I be like, nah, gang, like, I ain't fucking with no white shit for real. Like, I'll fuck you. That's about it, though. Because, and I barely won't do that, because y'all get, a white woman to get mad after we done, and she'll start saying some whole other shit. Now I'm in jail for 40 years because this bitch lied. Now I'm Emmett Till.
Rose responds by reassuring him that it isn't a big deal and her parents won't care. She even jokes that her father would have voted for Obama a third time if it was possible. She also mentions something key, that Chris is her first black boyfriend. I want you guys to remember that for later on. She continues to reassure him, saying that if her parents had any issue with him being black, she would have told him beforehand and wouldn't have even considered bringing him there. This exchange touches on a real concern that we see with many interracial couples. Me personally, I've never dated outside of my race. And shout out to my wife. She is a black woman. We have a beautiful family together.
Shout out to Black Queens, man. I love this. I love looking at this. Beautiful kids. Black family. Goals right here. I need this.
So everything I'm about to say is coming from a third-person point of view. In some families, relationships are still judged based on race. A person may be blacklisted from the family if they bring home a black man or a black woman. In my opinion, it is extremely unfair to bring a black person into a hostile environment that you know exists. Whether that be at dinner conversations, them watching Fox News all day, the small things they mention on car rides. Becky knew her pops didn't like black people, and she still brought you home. They then head to Rose's family's home, with Rose driving the car and Chris in the passenger seat. During the ride, Chris is seen searching for something, which turns out to be a cigarette. Rose quickly snatches it from his hand and throws it out the window. Chris has a smoking addiction, and he's been trying to quit it. And this is also another detail that you guys need to keep in mind. Chris then calls his best friend, Rod, a TSA officer who was outspoken, funny, and very loyal. Rod had already agreed to watch Chris's dog over the weekend while he traveled to Rose's parents' home. From the start, though, Rod has always been highly suspicious of him going to that family home. He's voiced his concerns multiple times, and he also brings it up again during this phone call conversation. After exchanging a few jokes, the call ends. As the drive continues, a deer suddenly jumps in front of the car, causing a minor accident and some damage to the vehicle. After the collision, Chris hears the deer whimpering and decides to investigate. He finds it laying helplessly, moments away from his death. Now, deers are very symbolic in this movie. We see them all the time. As Chris stares at it, it is symbolic because in a way it represents him. The deer represent prey, and later in the film, Chris will find himself in that exact position. The scene then cuts to a police officer questioning Rose about the accident. Once he finishes speaking to her, he turns to Chris and asks for his identification. Rose immediately objects, insisting that Chris doesn't need to show his ID because he was just a passenger. When I first watched this film, I thought Rose was just standing up for her man, you know, being that loud, outspoken, liberal woman that we know. But no, this wasn't the case at all. She wasn't doing this to be a justice warrior. She was protecting herself and the family. You see, they planned on having Chris go missing. And if this police was to get Chris's ID, he would see that he was with Rose, documented the last time he was seen. This would end up bringing complications to her and the family, potentially getting them caught and ruining everything. The cop eventually backs off, and the pair continues their drive. When they arrive at Rose's family estate, we immediately notice a black groundskeeper tenant.
And this was the first red flag. This was the first one. I'm going to point out how many red flags was in this video that maybe this nigga didn't catch, but I'm going to point them out. This right here, first red flag. Why you got a black man mowing your lawn?
To the property. Now, this was the first minor red flag, but not necessarily a major one. Rose and Chris are then greeted by her parents, Dean and Missy Armitage. Their initial interaction with Chris appears warm and welcoming. Both parents embrace him, creating the impression that he is about to be accepted into this family. Once inside, they begin talking about the trip. Dean asks how the drive was, and Rose mentions that they hit a deer on the way there. Dean is immediately interested and asks whether the deer survived or not. Rose confirms that it did die, and this launches Dean into a rant about how happy he is to hear this. He said that there are too many deer around, and more of them should be killed. At first glance, this may seem like a random conversation, but it's actually important. Earlier, I mentioned how the deer represented Chris. As a black man entering the Armitage family's world, Chris is ultimately being hunted, exploited, and treated as a resource. The Armitages view black people in much of the same way that hunters view deer, only the valuables that they can provide for them. With that context in mind, Dean's comments on deer have a much darker meaning. The deer become a stand-in for the people they seek to control, exploit, and strip of their anatomy. Afterwards, Dean...
I think that is what's going on in this movie, but I think that's just everybody in life wholeheartedly. Like they're only looking at you what you can do for them, and that's it. But that's what is happening in this video. But I think that happens with black on black, Chinese, and any race, you know.
He takes Chris on a tour of the house. He first shows him Missy's office, where she practiced psychiatry. As they continue to walk through, Dean points out various family photographs, including pictures of Rose and her brother Jeremy as children. The camera then lingers onto a portrait of the entire Armitage family, alongside Rose's grandparents. Dean then stops at another collection of photos and points out a picture of his father, Roman Armitage. Dean explains how in his younger years, Roman was a talented track athlete, and he states that he lost a qualifying race in Berlin in 1936 to Jesse Owens, the same one that Hitler was at. He makes a very interesting quote though, stating he almost got over it, referring to the loss at that race. He never got over it. But what did he mean by almost? Shouldn't he have said he never got over it because he's dead? Roman's loss to Jesse Owens became the catalyst for everything that followed. The defeat left him obsessed with the idea that black people possess superior physical abilities. Over time, that obsession evolved into the coagular procedure, a process that allows wealthy white individuals to transfer their consciousness into black bodies in order to obtain these perceived advantages. With this being said, Roman never died, which is why he said he almost got over it. He's actually the groundskeeper now, named Walter. His consciousness lives inside of that body, which you will get proof of later in the film. After he's finished showing off the photos, he points out the basement being sealed off because of black mold. Now this was a lie, because later in the film, this is where the whole operation of the coagular procedure takes place. He then tours the kitchen where a major red flag is drawn. When Chris first came into the family estate, we seen one black servant, but now when we enter the kitchen,
second one. This is the second one. Every black person you see, that's an automatic red flag. This is the second one. And it's the way the bitch is looking. Like the bitch is this right here, this one I've been like, the white bitch, yeah, bitch, I gotta go. Like I don't know, I don't even want to stay here no longer. I don't like the fact that you got two black people working for you. This is too much for me. That shit kind of weird. That shit would throw me the fuck off overly. And I'm damn near in the middle of nowhere. It's like, nah, bitch, you ain't finna get me.
We see the second. This is the family's maid. Her name is Georgina. Dean then goes to explain how his mother loved her kitchen, and they always kept a piece of her in it. He meant literal, because his mother is in Georgina's body. And as the film...
Wait. So this whole time, because he just said it about the other black dude with Roman. So you're telling me this whole time they did that procedure on all these black people? I'm thinking they just hallucinate, just put them in like a trance where they just don't know, they can't snap out of like, you know, I didn't know, yo.
Progresses, this gets confirmed as well. They then go outside to finish the tour, but as they're walking, Dean notices that Chris is kind of uncomfortable. Dean then brings up he realizes how bad this looks. A white family, black servants, they're rich, but he reassures Chris that it's not like that. He goes on to explain how Georgina and Walter used to care for his parents, and after they died, he kept them around because he didn't feel right just letting them go. He then brings up Obama, stating how he would have voted for him for a third time if he could, just like Rose brought up. Chris looks...
That's like the most passive racist shit you can say. The most passive, like, giving away that you're racist you can say. It's like saying, well, I have a black friend. It's like, yo, what the fuck does that mean? Like, you're trying to get, like, that's the most, like, racist thing you can say without trying to be racist, though. Like, that shit not, nigga, he looking at you like, what the fuck, nigga?
Looks even more uncomfortable. And Dean's attempts to prove that he isn't racist just come across as performative and forced. This is one of the film's earliest examples of Jordan Peele highlighting liberal racism. Dean doesn't openly represent himself as racist, and in fact he goes out of his way to appear progressive and accepting. In the next scene, the family is gathered outside around a table talking. Dean asks Chris about his parents, and Chris explains that his father was never in the picture and his mother died in a hit-and-run accident when he was around 11 years old. Dean then asks Chris if he smokes. Chris says yes, but asks that he is in the process of quitting. Dean encourages Chris to let Missy use her hypnosis to cure his addiction, claiming that he once had the same problem, but after doing a hypnosis session with Missy, he is now disgusted of cigarettes.
Yo, speaking of hypnosis, I swear to God, me and my homeboys went to Austin a week ago, 2 weeks ago, right? Nigga, we was walking to a different club, and there was these two men. One was doing magic tricks, so we stopped, fucked with him. He showed us a magic trick, blew my mind. But I noticed the other one on the left, he had I'm a hypnosis on his hat. So I look at him, I'm like, yo, you can hypnotize people? It was like, yeah. I said, okay, hypnotize me. He said, okay, let's make sure you can be hypnotized and shit, right? Before he started hypnotizing me, though, I said, yo, Like, if I actually get hypnotized, like, I'm gonna wake back up regular, like myself, though, right? You're like, yeah, bro, you're good. So he said, let's see if you can get hypnotized. So he told me to put my hands like these, like these right here, like this. He told me to put my hands like this. And he said, start trying to pull them apart. So I was trying to pull my shit apart, right? I was trying to do this. I was trying to pull my shit apart. While I'm holding it like this, he's over my shoulder, like, doing this. Like, he's throwing some shit on my shit. I can't pull my fingers apart. I can't. No, I can't. I'm like, he like, pull them apart. I'm like, bruh, I fucking can't. I can't do it. So, boom. After I said I can't pull them apart, he like, okay. Then he said release. And he said pull them apart. And then I just pulled them apart. So, boom. He was like, are you ready to get hypnotized? I'm like, yeah. So he dead ass just started doing his finger like this. And he said, when I snap and say go to sleep, you're going to fall in my arms. He does this. He snapped. And I guess I fell asleep, gang, because I didn't even know I fell asleep. I woke back up, and my homeboys is like, nigga, you just went to fucking sleep. I said, nigga, I did not go to fucking sleep. Nigga, I don't remember going to sleep. How the fuck I went to sleep? They like, no, nigga, that nigga put you to sleep, gang. Nigga, I woke up the whole rest of the night, nigga. I'm sitting there like these, trying to pull my motherfucking fingers together. Like, what the fuck did this bitch ass nigga just do to me? No, that shit was crazy.
Chris is visibly uncomfortable with the suggestion, but Dean continues to insist, stating that it's a service we provide. Chris politely declines, and the conversation moves on. We then learn that a family gathering is taking place the following day to celebrate Rose's grandparents. Conveniently, Rose forgot about this and decided to have Chris visit the family on this big day. While the family talks, Georgina moves around the table refilling drinks. As she pours Chris's glass, she accidentally overfills it, prompting Missy to tell her to go lay down and rest for the continuation of the day. Shortly afterwards, Rose's brother Jeremy arrives. Up to this point, we know very little about him, but in this upcoming dinner scene, it gives us a much better understanding of his character and further reveals the unsettly nature of the Armitage family. After bringing up an old story about Rose, Jeremy asks Chris if he is an MMA fan. Chris says no, explaining that it's too brutal for him. Jeremy then asks Chris if he ever got into a street fight as a kid. Chris replies, stating that he practiced judo when he was younger, insinuating that he got into a lot of fights. Jeremy then says something interesting, in quotes, with your frame and genetic makeup, if you really pushed your body, you would be a beast. This line shows how Jeremy feels about Chris. He believes black people naturally possess superior strength, speed, and athletic ability. Although he frames his...
Let's take a moment of silence for Brian. The GOAT, the greatest of all time, the chosen one, the greatest, the king, the chosen one. Everybody acknowledge this shit right now.
Comment as a compliment, it reduces Chris to his physical trait and reinforces racist stereotypes. Jeremy then brings up jiu-jitsu, noting that success in the sport is more about intelligence and strategy than physical strength. The way he frames his comments suggests the contrast between physical ability and mental ability. He appears to imply that black people have superior physical abilities, while white people hold the mental abilities having better intellect. This idea ties directly into the film's central theme. The Armitage family's ultimate goal is to place what they believe to be a superior white mind into a genetically superior black body. Now, the way Jeremy thinks also can draw parallels to how many white Gen Z men in 2026 feel. We often talk about the fetishization of black men from non-black women, but we never talk about it from the non-black men as well. A great example of this is a TikTok trend that went viral last year. They would use this country song and the lyrics would go something like, I won't back down. And on the screen would be a picture of them and some made up scenario of a black guy doing something. Very descriptive. For example, it says, when bro doesn't know how to shut up, so now my 5'10" ass gotta dance with the 6'5", 250 and lean dreadhead. Another example, when the 6'4" dreadhead starts squaring up because I started fake whipping him. And even with white women themselves, they have picked up on this obsession with black men.
This is reason 10,000 why racism is rooted in jealousy. Tell me why I received this message of a white man saying, well, you look like you've dated black men, and if you have, none of us want you. I didn't know this was an attitude that a lot of white men hold, but apparently they think that white women who sleep with...
This is so true, bro. This one time, this shit had me tight. I was ready to fight this nigga. I'm chilling with my friend, a female. I'm chilling with my friend. Mind you, we are actually just friends. We're just very close. It's my dog. We chilling, drinking and shit, chilling. This white nigga call her. We both work with him. This white nigga call her. He say, what are you doing? And she say, oh, I'm with I'm with Smith. That's what everybody calls me. It's my last name. That's what you go by in the military, your last name. She said, oh, I'm with Smith. He's like, what y'all doing? She was like, we just drinking, talking and shit. He gonna say, why are you always with Smith? All you want to do is hang out with Smith. Why you never want to hang out with me? Bro, I got on that motherfucking phone so quick, gang. It's like, what are you so obsessed with me for? Like, bro, she want to hang out with me because I'm a cool nigga, cuz. That shit is real. Like, white, I don't know, gang. That shit is weird.
Black men or with brown men, they become tainted in some way, and they no longer want that white woman. But this is absolutely rooted in jealousy, because why would it matter to them unless black men made them feel insecure? There is something about black men sleeping with white women who they view as their possessions that really gets them feeling angry, like they aren't good enough, because let's face it, they aren't. And white men are obsessed with black men's penises. Like, they talk about it often online. You'll see comments like, I bet she takes black dick or whatever. It's fucking weird.
And she do.
And genuinely unsettling how much they talk about black men. If they weren't insecure, if they didn't feel jealous, then why would they talk about it? They wouldn't. Genuinely so embarrassing on their end, because quite literally anybody can see through like what they're doing.
After dinner later that night, unable to sleep, Chris goes outside for a cigarette. Before he even gets a chance to light and smoke it, Walter, the groundskeeper, is seen full sprinting towards him, and at the last minute turns abruptly. This moment was a key giveaway that Roman was actually inside Walter's body. Chris then heads back inside, and on his way to bed, he encounters Missy in her hypnosis room. She asks him, do you know how dangerous smoking is? Chris nervously laughs, trying to brush it off, while Missy urges him to sit down and talk with her. What begins as a seemingly harmless conversation about smoking quickly becomes something much darker. After asking Chris about smoking in front of Rose, Missy starts probing into his past, specifically the circumstances surrounding his mother's death. She asks where was he when he died. Although Chris clearly doesn't want to discuss it, Missy, constant stirring of the teacup, seems to place him under her influence, causing him to reveal information against his will. As Missy continues questioning him, she weaponizes his guilt. She convinces Chris that he is responsible for his mother's death because he failed to call for help. Overwhelmed by emotion, Chris begins crying and admits that he can know.
That's not funny, but this nigga's face is Yo, why did this nigga got this
longer move completely under her control? He becomes physically frozen. Missy then commands him to sink, and Chris enters what she calls the sunken place. This is a vast, dark void with no visible floor, walls, or ceiling. Chris appears to float helplessly through the empty black space, as though he is falling backward into an endless abyss or drifting underwater. Far above him is a small, bright, rectangular window that shows the real world. As he sinks deeper, the window grows more distant, making him feel increasingly isolated. Although he can still see and hear what is happening outside, he is unable to move, speak, or regain control of his own body. This right now is the current reality for Walter and Georgina. Chris then wakes up from what seems like a horrible nightmare. To clear his mind, he heads outside to take some pictures, but while doing so, he spots Walter and decides to strike up a conversation. Right away, something feels off. His mannerisms, tone, and overall behavior don't reflect what Chris would expect from a typical black American. During their conversation, Walter apologizes for what happened the night before, claiming he was simply exercising. He then asks Chris if his session with Missy worked because, according to Walter, he was in there for quite some time. This immediately catches Chris off guard because he believed that the entire hypnosis experience was just a bad dream. Armed with this information, Chris confronts Rose and tells her that her mother hypnotized him without his consent. He explains the sunken place experience, which he still assumes was a part of a dream. The one positive outcome, however, is he's now disgusted of cigarettes, so the hypnosis worked in a way. Later that day, the family gathering began. One thing that stood out to me was that most of the guests had on all black, which I interpret as them coming to a funeral. This whole event was weird though. It was originally supposed to be a party for her grandfather, which they do every year, but despite Chris being Rose's new boyfriend that no one pretty much heard of, all attention is focused on him. Various guests asked invasive questions about his hobbies, interests, and what it's like being black. This curiosity goes beyond normal conversation and becomes deeply uncomfortable. A lot of these questions are basically asked to see if Chris's body will suit what they do. For example, when he was talking to this one guy, he asked about golf and does he golf a lot, asking him to demonstrate his swing. It's small things like this that you pick up on while rewatching it again. Chris finally seems to catch a break when he encounters another black guest. This is Andre, the man who was kidnapped earlier in the film.
Yo, this nigga right here, this nigga,
At the party, once again, Andre isn't dressed like a typical black American. He's also accompanied by older white women and speaks completely different. The awkwardness peaks when Chris goes in for a fist bump, and then Andre responds by just grabbing his hand. I want to give y'all a fun fact. The DAP was created by black Americans. Black service members in Vietnam developed the DAP, a combination of hand and body gestures as a non-verbal form of communication. The DAP could be as simple as tapping faces, shaking hands, or as complex of dozens of gestures with hands punctuated.
Why that look like Andre?
By slapping chest. Afterward, Chris meets what appears to be the most relaxed person at the entire gathering. Sitting by himself is Jim Hudson, a wealthy blonde art dealer. The two begin talking, and Chris introduces himself, but Jim already knows who he is. He says he admired Chris's photography and compliments him by saying he has a great eye. Once again, in this scene, we see another example of subtle foreshadowing. At this point, Chris seems exhausted by the entire experience. He heads back into the house and walks upstairs. This gotta be one of the creepiest things from the film though. As soon as he reaches the top of the stairs, the entire guest that was below him just stop abruptly talking and look up. My guess is that everyone at this party already knew what it was. The party was just a cover-up for the auction. So when he went upstairs, they could just let go the act and I guess not associate like people would do at a party. That's my guess. Upstairs, Chris discovers that his phone has been unplugged. Now, when he woke up after doing the hypnosis with Missy, his phone was unplugged. That was the first time. Now, when he comes back into the house, this is the second time. So he knows something is up. He left it on the charger before he went out. He now thinks that...
See, that's the difference between me and this nigga. It's not going to take all these weird fucking coincidences and shit for me to realize, like, I need to get the fuck up out of here. Bitch, I'm hitting feet. Like, you don't have to come with me. You don't have to do nothing. I don't even want to be with you no more, ho. It's too many coincidences going on around this bitch for me to just stay in this motherfucker and... Nah, gang.
This is being done intentionally, specifically by the maid, Georgina. He then finds Rose and voices this concern. But again, in normal Rose fashion, she just makes a joke out of it and downplays it. Afterwards, Chris calls Rod and tells him about the bizarre party. He also reveals that Missy hypnotized him. Rod immediately reacts because from the beginning, he has felt something awful about this entire situation. He jokingly suggests that the family could be using hypnosis to create sex slaves. While Rod's theory isn't correct, he's not completely off base. Rod reminds me of many of these conspiracy theorists that we just label as crazy. Yet sometimes, years later, parts of what they were saying end up true. After the call, Georgina confronts Chris. And in my opinion, this was like one of the best / creepiest performances in this movie. She goes on to explain what happened. Basically, she was cleaning up and accidentally unplugged his phone. Whole lot of bullshit. It was on purpose. But she's explaining it. And in the middle of her doing so, it's like her real self is trying to jump out.
So you unplugged it, and you know you unplugged it, but bitch, you ain't plug it back in? See, I think too critically and logically about shit. So, bitch, you either try to do some fuck shit or you're very disrespectful, because why you would unplug my shit and not plug my shit back in, ho?
Once again, it gets even worse though when Chris replies, if there's too many white people, I get nervous. She begins to look worried, then starts crying, and then starts laughing. Like, it was so weird. She goes on to say that the Armiters treat her and Walter very well before walking away. After this interaction, Chris is shaken up, replying that this bitch is crazy. Chris then returns to the party, and as soon as he steps outside, the guests are fixated on him. One guest asks about his experience as an African American.
And this is a motherfucking Chinese man. That nigga not white. I know a Chinese person when that nigga right there, not white, gang. No.
And whether being this is more of an advantage or a disadvantage. Chris notices Andre approaching, and instead of answering the question himself, he redirects it to him. While Andre is speaking, Chris takes a photo of him, but not realizing the flash is on. I'm guessing this brightness from the flash caused Andre to briefly resurface, and in that instant, he starts to rush towards Chris and yells at him to get out. One detail I found interesting about this scene is that you can literally see him coming back.
If I haven't left yet, that moment would have been the last. That would have been the final one right there. That would have been the final one. And it's the fact that it's not even about you, like, freaking out over the picture. Because, like, a nigga might freak out if you put the flash on the nigga. It's the fact that you charged at me and your nose is bleeding. Bitch, you're not 11. You're not Elle from Stranger Things. Bitch, there's something wrong with you. And all these white folk in here know it. And you know it too. Well, you don't, but you do.
To himself. If you notice on his eye, as soon as the flash goes off, his eyes start to dim away of the light that was there. Andre is then checked out by Missy, and soon after he comes out fine. Dean and Missy say that this was just a seizure, but that's a load of BS and Chris knows it. Rose then takes Chris outside so he can calm down, and this is where he expresses his frustration. He explains that he has a cousin with epilepsy and knows what a real seizure looks like. In typical fashion, Rose downplays this again, stating that her father is a neurosurgeon and knows what he's talking about. Meanwhile, while this conversation is going on, the silent auction for Chris is taking place. They were doing this playing like a bingo game. I don't really understand it, but Jim Hudson, the man who earlier complimented Chris on having that good eye, wins the bidding. As Rose and Chris finish up their conversation, Chris makes it clear that he is ready to leave, with or without her. Rose agrees and says that she will come up with an excuse for them to leave. Inside the home while packing, this is when everything starts to fall apart. Chris receives a call from Rod after sending the photo he took earlier of Andre. During the conversation, Rod confirms that the man from the party is Andre, someone they both knew. Chris feels a mix of relief, excitement, and anger. Rod urgently tells Chris that he needs...
I don't know what type of excitement you would get off of that at all, knowing that this nigga Andre has been missing and now he's around a bunch of white folk being weird as fuck. I don't know why you would be excited. Like, that wouldn't be a fucking verb or a noun or whatever the fuck it is that I would use or be. I'd be confused, scared, nervous, anxious. Like, what the fuck is going on around me right now? That's just me. Not excited.
He's to leave immediately, but before he can further explain, his phone goes dead. Just then, Rose enters the room, and Chris tells her in a troubled tone that they need to leave right away. She agrees and heads off to grab her bag. While waiting, Chris notices an open doorway he'd never seen before in Rose's bedroom. Curious, he steps inside and discovers something horrifying. Hidden away is a collection of photographs featuring what appears to be all of Rose's previous romantic partners. The disturbing part is that all of them are black, and if we remember back to the beginning of the film, Rose said that Chris was her first black boyfriend. Things get even more unsettling when Chris recognizes.
So, like, I can't even say nothing about this scene because I would have already been left. I would have been left 4 red flags ago. I would maybe I gotta leave, you know. I would have been left. But this, after she said you're my first black boyfriend, if I would have seen this, that bitch wouldn't even made it out the room. Bitch, you finna die right now, because now I know some shit going on around me. Now I know for a fact something's happening. Bitch, you finna die in this room. You're not leaving either. If I'm not leaving, bitch, you're dying too. I can stamp that, ho.
There's 2 familiar faces among the photos, Walter and Georgina. Realizing the significance of what he found, he quickly puts everything back and leaves the room. In the middle of doing so, though, Rose walks in. He does his best to try to hide his panic, but with her bag found, they head out. When they reach downstairs, Chris discovers that the entire family is waiting for him. Jeremy stands in front of the door, Missy emerges from one room, and Dean from another.
Yo, I know it was all in her plan, but this scene pissed me off so motherfucking much. Because the bitch really acting like she just can't find the motherfucking keys in her purse. Bitch, stop playing with me right now. This ain't the time, nor the motherfucking place, nor the nothing to be even playing. Bitch, give me the motherfucking keys, ho. I finna knock your mama out, and I'm finna walk out this door. This bitch steady. I can't find them. Bitch, you about to find her. Alright.
This whole time, Rose is still at the top of the stairs searching for the keys. While doing so, Dean asks Chris questions like, what is your purpose here? Chris doesn't know how to respond, so Dean starts answering for him. Growing desperate, Chris demands the keys again. But this time, Rose completely drops the act and calmly responds, you know I can't give you the keys, right, babe? In that moment, Chris realized he's
don't call me babe, bitch.
Trapped. And this girl been playing him the whole time. With no other option, Chris lunges at Jeremy in an attempt to escape. But before a fight can even start, Missy taps her teacup, instantly knocking out Chris, and he falls back into the sunken place. Meanwhile, Rod is trying to contact Chris, but he receives no answer. After searching for information about the man from the party, he discovers that Andre has officially been missing for a while. Armed with this new information, Rod goes to the police and explains everything he knows. There are some key details in there, but it do sound a little crazy. So the police police officers just dismiss him. Rod then realizes that he must take all of this into his own hands. So what he does next is give Rose a call. He states how he can't get in contact with him and hasn't heard from him. But Rose says that Chris left 2 days ago, and she's been waiting for him to give her a call as well. Rod is confused because that doesn't sound right. Rose then changes the subject and tries to make it seem like Rod has always had a thing for her. This upsets Rod, and he starts to go off, hanging up the phone in her face. The strange thing about this whole encounter is that during the entire time, Rose's mom was listening, her dad, and I think even Jeremy. Just even very weird to think about in itself. Like, these parents send their daughter out to go mess with all these different men, sleeping with them, and then bringing them back to the home to be kidnapped. I mean, they basically pimping her out, right? Like, am I wrong? We next see Chris waking up, strapped to a chair positioned in front of a small box TV. Mounted above is a deer trophy, which becomes important later in this film. The TV suddenly turns on, and a pre-recorded video begins to play. In it, Rose's grandfather, Roman Armitage, explains the coagulant procedure. He tells Chris that he was chosen because of his physical advantages he has enjoyed throughout his life, and that the procedure will ultimately benefit both in the recipient. According to Roman, by combining the black man's body with the white person's mind, they can become something perfect. The video then cuts to a live feed of Jim Hudson, who is being prepared to receive Chris's body. Jim explains the 3 phases of the procedure. Phase 1, the hypnosis. Phase 2, the mental preparation, what they are currently doing now. And Phase 3, the transportation, where Jim's brain will be placed into Chris's body. Jim explains that he will have complete control over Chris' physical body, while Chris will remain trapped in the sunken place, able to see and hear everything, but no type of control at all. Chris then asks, why us? Why black people? Jim responds by saying that some people want to be stronger, some want to be faster, some want to be cooler. There are plenty of different reasons. However, in Jim's case, he could care less about the race. He simply just wants a healthy set of eyes. Now, in my opinion, I do believe Jim when he says he's not racist, but this is the problem with a lot of white people. They may not be actively involving themselves in racist activities or white supremacy, but also when they give no pushback towards it or don't speak up against it, you're pretty much in the same place as them.
And that's what I be telling white folk. I don't like white folk that say they like Trump, but they're not racist. You're racist because you know Trump is racist and you still support it. So that means you don't give a fuck what he does to my people. You're racist. Or you see somebody actively, a black person actively getting treated unfairly, or you're seeing them get bullied because of their skin color and you don't intervene because it's not you or it's not one of your people. That's racist to me. Simple.
Because in this instance, yeah, Jim may not be racist, but he is actively enjoying the fruits of and racist activity. It's the same way when we talk about slavery as well. Yes, many white people didn't own slaves. The majority of white people didn't have slaves. But also, many of those people were comfortable with the hierarchy of the way that things were. Now, since we're on the topic of, transporting brains and doing all these types of operations, I want to highlight 2 stories that connect to this. My first one is a medieval story titled The Miracle of the Black Leg. This is one of the most famous miracle stories associated with St. Cosmas and Damien, 2 Christian physicians who, according to tradition, treated people for free and were later martyred in the 3rd century. The story first appeared in medieval writings and became especially popular in European art. According to the legend, a man had developed a diseased or cancerous leg that could not be healed. As his condition worsened, he prayed to St. Cosmas and Damien for help. That night, while he slept, the saints appeared to him in a dream and performed what is often described as the first successful transplant surgery in history. They removed his diseased leg and replaced it with the healthy leg of a recently deceased black man who had later been buried earlier that day. When the man awoke, his sick leg was gone. In its place was a healthy black leg, while the corpse of the deceased black man was found buried with the patient's diseased white leg attached to it. The miracle was interpreted as proof of saints' divine healing power. Modern scholars often analyze this story differently because it raises questions about race, identity, and the body. With this story, the miracle of the black leg, this transplant is performed to save a dying man, all while the recipient keeps his own mind and identity, only his leg being replaced. And then my final story I want to bring up, which is actually a historical fact, is Nat Turner and his rebellion. On the night of August 21st, 1831, in Southampton County, Virginia, Nat Turner, an enslaved preacher who believed God had called on him to fight against slavery, led one of the most significant slave revolts in American history. Turner and his followers killed approximately 55 white men, women, and children as they moved through the county. The objective was to recruit more enslaved people to cause and eventually seize control of the town of Jerusalem, present-day Courtland. However, local militias and state forces suppressed the uprising within a day. Turner evaded capture for nearly 2 months before he was found, tried, and executed. Now, after Nat Turner's execution is where I can connect this to Get Out. Following his execution, Turner's body was desecrated. He was flayed, meaning his skin was removed, and his body was dissected. According to multiple historical accounts, parts of his remains, including his skin, bones, and fat, were reportedly taken by local white residents as souvenirs or used in other gruesome ways. Some accounts claim he was beheaded, although historians note that the exact details of what happened of his body vary depending on the source. What is broadly agreed upon is that his remains were mutilated and desecrated after his death. Now, what I want to mention now is much more difficult to verify. However, in Vincent Woodard, the Delectable Negro, he argues that there were reports suggesting parts of Nat Turner's body may have been consumed or otherwise used in ritualistic or symbolic ways after his execution. Now, the reasoning behind them eating him is because they believe that this black person was supernatural. Both Turner's fellow enslaved followers and many white Southerners viewed him as someone with extraordinary and almost supernatural abilities, but for very different reasons. His followers saw him as a prophetic leader. White Southerners, on the other hand, feared what they believed was his almost mythical ability to inspire enslaved people to rebel. After the 1831 uprising, many white observers explained his influence by attributing it to imagined spirit of prophecy and extraordinary powers of persuasion. So many of them at this time thought that keeping his body parts as a souvenir, or what we can't confirm, eating him, would give them these divine abilities as well. After his conversation with Jim, Chris looks down at the chair he's strapped to and notices pieces of cotton coming loose from the armrest. This moment is highly symbolic because that very cotton is what sets him free. Chris quietly tears the cotton from the chair and stuffs it into his ear, preventing Missy.
When I was watching this shit, I was not thinking that deeply. Like, I did not correlate the cotton in a black person. And he put it in his ears so when she hit the spoon, for him time to go back down, he can't hear it, so he can't go down. So the cotton literally freed this nigga. And we got freed from picking cotton as slaves. I did not think this hard.
Teacup from hypnotizing him and sending him back to the sunken place. This was a powerful reversal of history. Cotton, which was historically associated with the forced labor of enslaved black people, becomes the very tool that allows Chris to resist his oppressors and reclaim his freedom in this situation. In the next scene, Dean begins preparing for the coagulant procedure, getting ready to transplant Jim's brain into Chris's body. While in the middle of prepping, he sends Jeremy to go get Chris, believing that he is unconscious in the sunken place. As Jeremy loosens Chris' restraint, Chris suddenly attacks him and knocks him out unconscious. In this moment, he appears to be dead, but he's really not. He then removes the cotton from his ears, revealing that he was never hypnotized. Chris then grabs the mounted deer from the wall, and as Dean is waiting on Jeremy to return, Chris charges at him and drives the deer antlers into his body, killing him. As Dean is dying, he stumbles and accidentally knocks a candle over, starting a fire. This moment becomes full circle. The animal Dean spent the entire film calling a pest becomes the very thing that kills him. Chris leaves the basement and heads upstairs. As he enters the kitchen, Georgina sees him and, shocked, immediately runs away. He then comes face to face with Missy. The two stare each other down, both glancing at the teacup. They rush toward it at the same time, but Chris gets there first and smashes it, preventing her from hypnotizing him and sending him to the sunken place. Missy then grabs a knife and tries to stab him. She manages to drive it through his hand, but with the blade still lodged into his palm, Chris uses it against her.
This nigga did 1-on-5 these niggas, though. This nigga actually beat the dad ass, fucked the mom over, fucked the brother over, and fucked the stupid bitch over. Well, I think his friend Chris. I think the other nigga fucked. Either way, he 1-on-5 these
killing
niggas,
her.
bro.
Just as Chris is about to escape through the front door, Jeremy ambushes him. After a brutal struggle, Chris finally gains the upper hand and kills Jeremy for good.
Jeremy's a bitch. You got this nigga from behind and he still beat your ass. Get the fuck. And look at this crazy bitch.
Film then cuts to Rose, who was casually eating her color Fruit Loops separately from her white milk. This is another form of symbolism. In the middle of doing this, she is searching for her next victim online. This time, it seems like she's targeting one of these college athletes. As the camera pulls back, we see photographs of all of her previous relationships hanging above her bed. This makes me wonder, does Rose still have a emotional connection to some of her victims? Let's take Chris for an example. She was dating him for 5 months. After spending hours together, sleeping together, some connection has to be made, despite her eventually selling them out. I don't know, you gotta be kind of sadistic to do the things that she was doing. Chris then gets into Jeremy's car, and if you pay attention, it's the same two-door car from the opening scene where Andre was kidnapped. Even more revealing, the black helmet worn by Andre's attacker is sitting right in the passenger seat. And and the exact same song is playing too. This pretty much confirms that Jeremy was the one who kidnapped Andre, and likely many other victims that we don't know about. As Chris speeds away, he hits Georgina with the car, feeling guilty because he knows the real Georgina is still trapped inside of there, and also she reminds him of the situation with his mother.
Okay, he's saying trapped inside of there. If the bitch brain is different, if the bitch got a different brain, if a bitch have a brain of a different bitch, how can she come back to her normal self? Her brain is not her brain. That's not that bitch's brain. She has a different whole brain in her shit. How can she, like, she would have sat there fucking with me, bitch.
Picks her up and puts her in the vehicle. Rose ends up hearing this commotion and comes outside carrying a rifle. This moment right here is more symbolism. Earlier, I mentioned how Chris represents the deer throughout the film, and here he ends up in the exact same position as a deer, being hunted for his resources. As Chris drives away, Georgina suddenly wakes up and grasps the steering wheel, causing him to lose control and crash. Georgina ends up dying in this accident, and as a result of this, her scar is now visible, pretty much confirming that the grandma's brain was put into Georgina's body. As soon as Chris gets out of the car, Rose opens fire with the rifle. During the confrontation, she orders her grandpa, Walter, to chase Chris. She verbally calls him grandpa, so this pretty much confirms that he was the granddad. Walter catches Chris and tackles him down to the ground. In a desperate move, Chris pulls out his phone and uses the camera flash on Walter. Just like what happened earlier with Andre, the flash temporarily frees Walter from the sunken place, allowing his true self to regain control. Walter stands up and asks Rose to hand him the rifle so he can kill Chris. Trusting him, Rose gives him the gun, but instead, Walter turns it on her and shoots. Tragically, he then points the gun at himself, killing both his original self and the man who stolen his body. Chris walks over to Rose and begins strangling her. And this is where I can talk about the two different endings. In the theatrical ending, Chris stops before killing her. Flashing police lights appear in the distance, making both Chris and the audience think the police have arrived. But then we see it's actually Rod driving his TSA vehicle. He rescues Chris, and the film ends with Chris escaping alive. This is a happy ending, but it's not realistic. The alternate ending makes much more sense. Chris doesn't stop strangling her. He actually kills Rose. Seconds later, the real police arrive and they arrest him for murdering the entire Armitage family. In the final scene, Chris is shown in prison, speaking to Rod through a glass partition. Rod wants to continue investigating the conspiracy, but Chris tells him to let it go. He believes he accomplished what he needed to do by ending their operation. He believes he's a sacrificial lamb. He accepts that no one will believe his story, but at least he ended more people from following his fate. This is a heartbreaking ending, but once again, it is realistic. With the house burnt down and nearly all of the evidence destroyed, how can Chris possibly prove what happened? This is what makes this ending hit so much harder, and I wish they would have put this in the theatrical one. Get Out has always been about more than just escaping the Armitage family. It's about the systems that can still work against you even after you survive. From Chris' perspective, he was just defending himself against people who kidnapped him, planned to steal his body, and murdered countless others, but no one believes that story. You know why? Because he's black. There has been numerous high-profile cases in the United States where black victims or defendants have been treated with skepticism, while claims of self-defense made by others receive far more public or legal acceptance. Cases like Trayvon Martin, Ahmaud Arbery, and even this year with 14-year-old Cyrus Belton and Carmelo Anthony. It seems like people who understand self-defense when it's against a black person. But
it's always self-defense unless it's a black person. It makes no sense.
Never when it's a white victim. This is why I love Get Out, and this ending in particular. Chris wins the battle for his body, but he still loses his freedom. Damned if he fights back, just like Carmelo Anthony, and damned if he doesn't, just like Cyrus Carmack Belton. He survived the Armitage family, but still can't escape the system that's always stacked against him.
That was a fire-ass video, bro.
That's it for this video, man.
Fire video.